Woo-wee, what a night. I just got through done working out in the front room and I snapped some photos over there on Snapchat. And I think I look thoroughly exhausted, but to really be thoroughly exhausted, we've got to finish this Saturday Evening Post special fiction edition. It is May to June 2021, part 2. We're starting on page 80, where there's Everyday Heroes by Ken Budd. This is Arts, Crafts, and Courage. Jean Gribben uses beads to help sick children tell their painful, powerful story. The beads photos come to Jean Gribben from the childhood cancer survivors across the country. They're from women like Chloe, once a sick child, now a Minnesota bride, whose bead strands drape across her wedding dress, and Allison, a beaming high school senior in Georgia, whose long hair and colored beads hang over the graduation gown. 7 years earlier, chemotherapy had left Allison pale and bald. The beads tell a story of their trauma and their triumph. Hi, Sammy. And survivors share those stories with Gribben, the woman who gave their voice. In 2021, roughly 10,500 children under the age of 15 will be diagnosed with cancer, and many will find solace in Jean Gribben's beads. Gribben is a pediatric oncology nurse in Tucson, is the founder of Beads of Courage, a nonprofit that uses beads to help children with cancer tell their stories of resilience and pain. 19 different glass beads represent unique moments in the patient journey. Red is a blood transfusion. White is chemo. Yellow is overnight hospital stay. The colors, Gribben says, become a visual language for the children in more than 300 children's hospitals in 8 countries where the Beads of Courage work. Yes, Sammy, I know you're right here. Let me read the story, please. Let's see. Children also receive special beads for their non-medical moments or simply as a morale boost. Since 2003, roughly 60,000 children have participated in the program, and many accumulate 500 to 1,000 beads during their treatment. I've seen people cry when they see the numbers of beads. They understand for every bead a child experienced something painful, says Gribben. She compares it to soldiers covered in medals. You may not know what they represent, but you understand the bravery. And the hundreds of beads are heavy. Gribben tells the story of a teenager in the hospital in Greenville, North Carolina, who asked a visitor to hold his beads. Do you feel that, he said, that weight of my courage? Gribben has felt the weight since the age of 4. She grew up in rural Minnesota, would play with a boy named Miles on his family horse farm. Then Miles was diagnosed with cancer, and Gribben watched his steady bedridden decline. Within a year, Miles was dead. 20 years later, Gribben was working on her PhD in the nursing program at the University of Arizona when a professor asked a question that would reignite her feeling of loss and transform her life. She asked everyone in the class, "Why are you pursuing the type of nursing that you are?" Gribben recalls. All the memories of Miles came flooding back, and I knew my life's purpose was to help children cope with cancer. Gribben was already working as a pediatric oncology nurse, but was struggling with the healthcare conundrum. She knew that she could meet her patients' physical needs, but how could she meet their emotional needs? They show a picture above here of 2 little girls and one bedazzled and her with her Beads of Courage shirt on. It says, "Bedazzled pediatric oncology nurse Jean Gribben Wright compares young bead-wearing cancer survivors to soldiers covered in medals. For every bead, a child experienced something painful," she says. And it's a wonderful joy that she's able to do that. And we'll continue on now with the story of Sammy Willettis. Many of these kids are immunocompromised, so they can't leave their room. You quickly realize that they are held hostage, says Gribben. So for me, it was clear that we weren't doing enough. How can you maintain their emotional well-being when they're stuck in a hospital room? What could we do to strengthen their quality of life and resilience? Kids with serious illnesses really didn't have a way to communicate with others about their journey. In 1999, she volunteered with a medical team at Paul Newman's Serious Fun Children's Network camp in the country Kildare, Ireland, now known as Barrettstown. The camp provides seriously ill children with therapeutic activities such as horseback riding, canoeing. Gribben was struck by the children's passion for arts and crafts. And when she returned that following year, she noticed that the kids were still wearing their bead strands that they created the year before. I lose all these things all the time, so I'm thinking, how did these kids still have the bracelets they made in camp last summer, she said. That really struck me. These beads are important to them. Gribben started researching the history of beads for over 100,000 years. She learned humans have used beads as symbols, accomplishments, and honor. In 2003, she launched Beads of Courage. Beadsofcourage.org is a pilot program at Phoenix Children's Hospital, then expanded to Oakland's Children's Hospital in California, but there was a problem. Gribben was funding it herself and had accumulated $8,000 in credit card debt. My family said, "This is insanity. You cannot do this on your own," she said. She formed a nonprofit in 2005, the beads themselves, handmade by artists nationwide. They were her biggest expense. It was important to me that these aren't just beads you can get at a local craft store, she said. She contrasts them with stickers which nurses often give young patients. Stickers are disposable. The handcrafted beads are more solid, more distinctive, more permanent. In Champaign, Illinois, Kate Cox has seen the impact of Beads of Courage on her 10-year-old daughter, Erin, who was diagnosed at the end of 2019 with osteosarcoma, a type of bone and soft tissue cancer. Erin was treated at Lurie's Children's Hospital in Chicago, where surgeons removed a tumor from her femur. The beads provided motivation. They give you a card so you can write it down, the different dates and procedures, and Erin would write on the back, "It's worth it for a bead," says Cox. Erin accumulated about 600 beads, which she was proudly hang on her IV pole. Her knee and part of her femur were replaced with bionic implants. But she finished her chemo in November 2020 and is currently cancer-free. When she looks at the big bulk of beads now, it's a visible feeling of, "I did this, I conquered these scary things," says Cox. She knows what beads all mean. They track the milestones of the journey. The beads are also a powerful tool for the parents. Moms and dads sometimes wear a strand of their children's beads when they are apart or simply feel the weight. For Gribben, helping the many families who want to enroll in Beads of Courage can be a challenge, at roughly 450 children on the wait list at the hospitals around the country. Others are in hospitals that don't offer the program. To support those kids, Gribben and her team launched Beads in the Mail, which has mailed beads to over 3,000 children. The most excruciating part of Gribben's work is when a child dies. You feel so connected to these families, she says, but the gratitude of the survivors helped sustain her through the losses. In 2018, Danielle, a program participant in Atlanta, visited Gribben in Arizona to celebrate her 16th birthday and to thank her for her Beads of Courage. The two had met 8 years earlier when Danielle was battling cancer. The transition was startling. Here she is, healthy, vibrant, 16-year-old. The last time I saw her, she had no hair and was in active treatment phase for cancer, says Gribben, and we went on a hike together. It was an amazing moment for me. Ken Budd is an author of The Volunteerist. His work appears in the 2020 edition of the Best American Travel Writing. What a great article. And who knows, maybe this Kate Cox will get in touch with me about her 10-year-old daughter, Erin, and would need a wig. And I would gladly work with them to hopefully donate some hair and help find a way for them to get a wig without them being charged. I think it's the worst thing in the world that these organizations are charging these people who are already experiencing the greatest grief to make a wig. That's just horrible. They show these dogs here on a leash and a cartoon in front of a castle where the knight is walking the 3 dogs, and it says 3 Dog Night, which is a cute cartoon. Oh. Moving forward. Well, I guess that's the only one I had left to share. Well, that's good because I'm a little tired. I won't lie. That workout tonight was massive, but I enjoyed it, and it was rewarding. That's the main thing. So, with that being said, thank you for tuning in for part 2 of Saturday Evening Post, June to 2021. And pick up that book if you can. You won't regret it. May you have faith, hope, and love and joy in your heart. Lots of prosperity in the bank as well as your heart as well. Make sure that you're staying 3 feet apart. You're washing your hands when you can't wash your hands. You're using your hand sanitizer. Whew, still a little winded. And make sure that you're still wearing your mask. We're still in this pandemic. They have not declared it over. So don't go celebrating so early that we all get a setback. I love each and every one of you. And I wish you nothing but the very best. Good night. God bless, and hope to see you tomorrow.